You see me naked. We had conversation.
Hi guys, it's Katie. I'm the business I'm the business development manager for Casting Frontier. It's also my first time doing a live video. I don't know if you could tell that or not. So today we are going to be interviewing commercial casting director Karen Ryan, and the reason why I had that song by Katy Perry playing when we just started off. Hello everyone. I love everyone already reaching in their comments. So. The reason why I played that song by Katy Perry is because I actually worked with Karen in helping to cast that music video. So a little bit of background about me, just so you know who I am and why it is that I'm conducting these interviews. Hi, my name's Katie. I've worked in casting for about 15 years. Started off with an independent casting director in Boston. I've worked in the studio system. I've worked in commercial casting, and now I'm working at Casting Frontier. So it's it's been a great ride. So I'm going to see if Karen is ready to join us. Yes, she is. So without further ado, I'll get right to it and introduce Karen here. She is, again, a fantastic casting director. She does music videos, she does commercials, she does TV. And without further ado, here's Karen. We're just going to wait for her. Yay! Hi, Karen.
Hi, Katie. Good to see you.
I'm good. It's so good to see you.
Fun to have this. Thank God for technology, right?
I know, unbelievable. Look at all these gorgeous people joining this chat. This is awesome. So I just gave them a nice little intro about you and how we know each other and the work that you've done. So I guess the first question I'll ask you right now is, how are you doing? How are you holding up through all of this? How are things?
Actually, pretty good. I know it's like a whole new world. We're all kind of, and thanks everybody for joining, by the way. This is my first time doing this as well, so a bit nervous. But it's definitely a weird time, but I think we're all trying to stay positive through it, not just work wise, but just in terms of our families and just our lives in general. We're all trying to just survive here, and there's ways of seeing the good in what's going on, I suppose. I feel like this has been a great time to reconnect with people.
Yeah.
Reach out to friends that you haven't seen in forever, or friends that are by themselves, and just being a bit more aware of people around you and what they might need, and if you have elderly neighbors that need anything, and but it's also a good time to concentrate on what to do when your career starts up again. And I think we're all looking at things like that right now.
No, absolutely. And that leads into the first question, which is, what do you think actors can do right now that, to help themselves be as prepared as humanly possible, so that when things do pick it back up again, they can be ready to hit the ground running, and really get out there. So what would be your suggestions?
Well, there's all sorts of things you can do, really, just to kind of, keep things moving along for yourself, kind of thing. And one of the best things about right now is that all of us casting directors and everybody in our industry, we're pretty quiet as well. So it is actually a lovely time to, maybe send us an email, or maybe send us your reel. Maybe you want us to critique the reel. Feel free to reach out. We're always open to that. Most of the time we're open to that anyway, but now we actually have, a bit more time in our hands to, really reconnect with the actors, connect with new actors that we haven't met yet, or haven't, gotten to meet in the casting office. And
right,
it's kind of, and just, help critique some stuff for them. And so I'm always open to that. And now there's definitely more time to kind of, read through some emails and give some feedback. I've done that a little bit with some people that have sent me some stuff. Make sure your profiles are updated. All your
yes, oh my gosh.
When you're auditioning and you're running around and there's, you're stuck in traffic and there's a million things going on, it's very distracting. So right now, when you have the bit of time, that extra bit of time to maybe just, make sure that all your profiles are updated.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe go through go through your photos, to see which ones would be the more prominent ones, which ones should I have on my site. You can update your websites.
Yeah.
There's just things you can do. There's because of course every casting director has their own little pet peeves and things. And one thing that I always tell actors to please do, and this is something you can you know, work on while you're at home is your signature. So when you send an email, and, you know, sometimes it's when you're sending tapes or when you're communicating with casting or
You're
communicating with
talking about like an
production.
email signature.
Oh yeah, sorry, an email
Oh,
signature.
okay.
So, it's such an important thing because, especially in the advent of all these self tapes, I feel like, you know, we get a ton of those. Sometimes it's through the agents, but then even so, say if it's a direct submission, or even when as an actor, when you're communicating, say when you've booked a job, you're communicating with the wardrobe people, with production, it's so much nicer and it's so much more professional to have some kind of signature, whether it's your name and your email, even if you don't have a website set up yet.
Yeah.
Have it be your name, your email, and your phone number, just in one nice little signature at the bottom of an email.
Yep.
It makes the world a difference, I have to tell you, because sometimes you're just weeding through to try to find somebody's phone number on a Saturday night at midnight because production need the details the next day, and I'm going, I can't get a hold of agents. I mean, it's late. It just stuff like that, just little things like that are nice to have. And, you know, and also Zoom is our friend. Zoom, I've discovered, I didn't know anything about Zoom myself until 2 weeks ago, and now I'm Zooming left, right, and center. But it's for different things, work things, and all the rest of it. But I love Zoom because, as you know, for all of you guys that are in acting classes, it's kind of nice to maybe, you know, have just meet up in your Zooms. And Zoom is free, I think, up to a certain.
Yeah, I think it allows a certain amount of time and a certain amount of people in the room. But yeah.
So it's, and if, or even if you as a group decide to maybe, you know, pay collectively, you know, a few bucks a month to have like the fully functioning Zoom or whatever it might be.
Right.
But then you can do, you know, anybody that has improv classes that they do, even if it's just meeting up with friends, there's a lot that you can do online and just kind of just keep upping your game and just working on your monologues or, you know, any stuff that you have. And people, you know, and it's lovely to see creative stuff. There's a lot of little interesting things coming out with people using Zoom. I'm actually working with a guy right now who's working on some content that will be filmed entirely on Zoom, some little comedy spots, which I think will be really fun. Yeah, so there's all sorts of good stuff like that going on.
I don't know if you saw that Will Ferrell and Jimmy Fallon and Kristen Wiig did that Zoom like soap opera, basically.
Oh, no.
It was all webcam. So
I had to look for that actually. Yeah.
It's hilarious, but I mean, it's sort of a testament to how people are adapting and pivoting right now and still able to create content. And like you said, this is a great time to brush up on skill sets or build a new skill set. If there was an accent that you always wanted to learn and you just never had the time, that's always great. And like you said, keeping those profiles up to date as well, just because, you know, that's how casting can find you in a database. Especially if they're looking for a very specific skill set, like if you are, you know, a professional level clog dancer, but you don't have that listed on your profile, and we're looking for clog dancers, we won't be able to find you. So that's the best thing that you can be doing right now. I completely agree with that.
Even things that you don't think are valid, you know, things that are interesting skills that you think don't mean anything. Well, actually, they make you more interesting. Sometimes it's just the most bizarre thing. Like I booked a guy one time because he was a woodworker, and the director liked the fact that his other gig was that he carved things out of wood. Just you know, it was a kind of a hobby, and you know, he sold some stuff on the side or whatever, but it made him just a bit more well-rounded and interesting. So, you know, anything that you might think might be an odd thing, I've seen all sorts of fun stuff on profiles, like, oh wow, that person can do that, that's really cool.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I know working in casting, like because we're dealing with actors day in and day out, to hear any other bit of information about that person that makes me just, like, you know, connect with them on a human level as opposed to a professional level. I think that's endearing to us, and that's what allows us to open up, you know.
I go, oh my God, you did Irish dancing when you were a kid. I did too.
Yeah, same.
Right.
So moving to the next question, I know that we, you know, with Casting Frontier, we have a great self-tape feature, and being able to integrate that. But when an actor is making their own self-tapes, what suggestions can you give them so that they can really optimize that time? You know, technical stuff, you know, all that good stuff.
Well, there's you know, there's definitely ways, there's do's and don'ts with self-tapes, and a couple of quick pointers actually. I know, thankfully the software does have great, facilities to be able to upload a self-tape. But if you are doing it on your phone, this is the number one thing I will tell people. When you do a self-tape on your phone, and they're perfectly acceptable. A smartphone self-tape is perfectly acceptable, in a lot of cases. Turn your phone horizontally, not vertically, because when it's vertical, it leaves a black, it just has the dead space. But if you turn it vertically, it's actually great. It takes that away. You could also, this actually comes in handy, you could invest in a very simple tripod. A very simple tripod, just to keep the distance, and just so that it's level, at the right level. You don't want to be looking down into the camera, looking up into the camera. There should be a level with the position that you're doing. And you always treat a self-tape like you're actually in the casting room. You still set the scene the way you would in a casting room. Like, I don't love if I get a self-tape and if there's, say, one line of dialogue, if they just give me that one line of dialogue and I just see them do that one line, there's no, set the scene for me, make it look like, oh gosh, okay, the scene is in a kitchen, great, okay, and then chopping veggies or whatever it is you're doing.
Yeah, exactly. It's like now you have, and with a self-tape environment, you have the luxury of really being able to create a world, as opposed to making do with just the handful of props that are being provided for you in the studio. Now you can make a whole scene, and I always encourage actors too to send more than one take.
Oh, me too. Every time, and I go, look, because it's, I can take the extra takes out, or we can choose to keep the takes we love, whatever, but give us more than you think you need to. Always give us 5 takes if you want. That's okay. We're okay with that, because we'll still keep whatever we feel like are the best ones, and the same as we would in a casting room. But in the casting room, we don't have as much time to have you sit there and do 5 takes. So why not use the time you're doing a self-tape to actually, utilize the time that you have at home, and then give us multiple takes, which we love. And lighting is important, of course. There's simple things like make sure your lighting and sound, but there are wonderful facilities that offer wonderful self-tape, especially for theatrical. But
also, if you go online too, there's plenty of at-home lighting kits. I saw that CG Nevermore commented, and he asked about lighting. For at-home lighting kits, I mean, there's plenty of things you can do. I believe Casting Frontier is also sending out a resources page for actors this week, giving them links to all those to those kinds of facilities and those kinds of resources. I mean, because at this point too, a lot of my actor friends that I know do have their own at-home studio where they have a backdrop, they have a tripod, they have lighting set up. Because I think the caliber of self-tapes is, the quality is rising as they're becoming more common.
And the need is rising. The need is rising too. Yes. It's so important. Yeah, and the backdrop should always be quite simple. I mean, never really a white backdrop, and you never want matte clothing backdrop, of course, but simple things like that. You just keep it simple, not a lot of, and obviously the number one thing, read all directions with a self-tape, because the casting director will give you very explicit directions as to how they want to generally how they want to present it. If there's any wardrobe notes, they'll give you the notes that they would give in the casting room, like, or anything in advance that they can give you, which will help your performance most of all. But also, please pay particular attention to the format in which the self-tape sent. If it's being sent from a cell phone, or from a smartphone, or one you've made at home yourself, if mostly we prefer to have it in an MP4 or an .mov, just because it's easier to upload at that point. Obviously the services have some great self-tape upload facility abilities, which is awesome. But definitely we generally don't love Vimeo or YouTube links, and I have made a point now, whenever I send out a call for self-tapes, I do make a point, please do not send in a Vimeo or
YouTube link.
It's just, the problem with that is it's an extra step that we have to take then to convert it, to be able to upload it to our software. That's the only reason why. We can view it fine, but my client, I can't upload it to my software for the client to view it. So that's the reason why we prefer to keep it in the form that is uploadable for us, if that makes sense. It's one less step, because self-tapes can be laborious.
No, definitely. Unless you're using Casting Frontier. But with when you're using a background, and I'm just trying to keep a track of the questions as they're coming in as well. With the background, if a white background is all you have, it's okay. I would say just try to avoid posters. Don't shoot your self-tape in your bedroom with your messy unmade bed in the background and all your personal effects. It's just, it's just distracting. It's, and we can't focus on your performance. Right. One of the other nice things about Casting Frontier self-tapes, by the way, is that actors can submit up to 5 takes too. So that's an easy way for, you know, them to upload and give you guys options. And then on your end, you can select which ones you want to incorporate, which ones you don't. But yes, generally self-tapes are a little bit more labor intensive than regular sessions. So, you know, whatever actors can do to help us along. And if that means just sending it as an MP4 file or an MOV file, please and thank you.
Yeah. And look into WeTransfer. Just one more. Sorry, Katie.
No, of course.
WeTransfer is free and it's easy to send a link that way because the link is generally too big to send in the body of the email. So a Google Drive or a WeTransfer link is usually the easiest. So I do tell actors, you know, look up WeTransfer, sign up for it. It's generally, I think it's free unless you want to upgrade to the, you know, the bigger one. But just for smaller tapes, it's free. So, and then with the backdrop for the person who asked for the white, you know, said they have a white backdrop, just make sure just to wear something that doesn't clash, like obviously not a white shirt when you have a white backdrop, you know, but that's, so just keep it so that at least you are visible against the wall.
Right. We're gonna I'm seeing all these great questions popping up on the feed too. We are going to get to those in just a second, guys. So keep them coming. What would be your self-tape pet peeve?
I guess I don't need, and it's the same with reels. I would not, it doesn't need to have a big long lead in, you know, like where there's a lead in. I've had self-tape sent where there's a lead in where it gives me the talent's name, the agent, the information, and this goes on for 5 or 6
30 seconds and you're just like,
it's such a waste of your wonderful self-tape time. So I would say, if you can, don't worry, because we already know who we're looking at. You know, a slate is important, but a slate is very quick and easy. But the lead in, I would definitely cut that out. It's too long and unnecessary. And we sometimes have so little time to look at all the self tapes and get the link ready. So I would say keep that small.
Absolutely.
And follow direction.
Follow direction. Well, that leads into my next question, which is that in a self-tape scenario, actors don't have the benefit of getting direction in real time from a casting professional like they would in a traditional session.
Right.
So if an actor, you know, we're all self-isolating right now. So what recommendations would you give to an actor so that they can submit the best performance possible? Not just all the technical stuff, sound, lighting. We kind of know the gist of that. What would you recommend?
Read the directions. They will be explicit. Like we send, I think every office would do the same, very particular directions. We will tell you exactly what we're looking for, you know, everything about the character that we need to let you know. And also I always add my email to, you know, when I send out an audition notice, I always make sure that you have my email in advance, because if you have any questions before about the character, about the setting, about anything to do with any of it, I will give you every little piece of information so that you can give me everything back, because again, the benefit of, unfortunately, I'm not there in person to work you through it, but if you have any questions in advance, always email me. And I love that. I actually love getting emails, because I'm like, oh good, somebody's really reading the info.
And taking initiative.
And taking specific, you know, initiative to look at, maybe does she mean this or does she mean that? Because sometimes maybe it didn't translate well when I explained what I needed, so that's why I love when actors will then email me back and say, just want to make sure I got that right, and is that the direction of this character? Is that what you think is, you know? So I love that. Yeah, it's always good to ask.
Good. And again, I would personally recommend just submitting more than one take, where you just try something different. And even if, you know, on our end, you know, if we end up picking or choosing, at least we have options, and at least we can see that you're capable of giving more than one read, which is always going to help you as an actor in the future. So let's see, before we get into the reader questions, what has it been like for casting during this time in your experience, and how have you been finding production is working around all of this?
Well, it's interesting because I actually was on a forum a couple of days ago, like a production forum on Zoom, you know, which is like our new normal now. And because this is the general consensus I feel right now. Casting won't change in a huge in the same degree that production will. Casting will still, you know, we can still always do self tapes. We can still always, you know, casting will continue almost in a similar manner to before. There would be probably, once everything opens up again, there probably will be some changes, like maybe we'll space out the amount we bring into a studio. We'll make, you know, there'll have to be, you know, obviously situations in place where we clean everything down. We're using props, there'd have to be a certain programs would have to be established. But I think there might be a sense of there would have to be an expectation from our client of a smaller amount of options per role, because we're not going to be able to fill the rooms as much as we used to before. I think that's probably going to be a little bit of a change. But in terms of how it changes for how it's been for us, I think it'll still be the same. We'll still be able to request self tapes. We'll still be able to do auditions, you know, over online, or there'll still be that we can still continue somewhat as normal. But I think where the changes are going to be, and where we've seen changes, is I know there have been so few jobs because of everything just on this hold. But we feel like for example, last week I had a couple of jobs that I was holding for, and they were trying to figure out, the casting part wasn't the issue because we could still cast online. But the production part was the issue. It was they were trying to figure out, how do we do this in keeping with social distancing rules and keeping with, you know, the normal? Can we film something remotely? Can we go to the actor's home? Can we do it from Zoom? I mean, and there's so many issues around trying to formulate a production around all these new rules. So I think that's the part that's going to have to catch up. I mean, I feel like casting can continue, and but production are going to have to figure out how or write commercials that work around this new normal.
And I think we're already starting to see that too. I mean, we're seeing that, you know, we're seeing the USAA commercial where it's all people from their screen, their webcams. I think a lot more commercials for the time being are turning to voiceover and just using stock imagery. That's happening a lot too. And I'm also seeing jobs trickling in that are, you know, written around this scenario where it's people filming from their phones, filming from their computers. With that being said, advertisers still have budgets, production companies still have budgets, and they still have to spend it. So I have a feeling that once this is all, you know, gone back to normal and everything has kind of subsided a bit, I think there is going to be a boom, because advertisers and production, because everybody just is like, oh, we got to spend this money before the end of the year, you know.
I think so. I think also the creatives have who are sequestered as well right now, all the different creatives within the ad agencies, and, you know, the directors are they have a situation now where they can be creative, and they're sitting at home putting together these brilliant ideas, brilliant campaigns, and I'm sure once everything is figured out, once they can figure out the legality of, can we, you know, how do we film at someone's home? How do we film it through Zoom? And, you know, just working around the technical side of everything. And, you know, maybe eventually things will even out and go back to normal. But I feel like this is a very good time for the creative people to be coming up with these wonderful ideas, so that once we do kind of move forward and can get back to some semblance of normality, that there will be, I myself and some of my fellow casting directors have talked about this too. We think there will be certainly like a big boom towards the end of the year, because there'll be an influx of ideas and wonderful, and so that's when we'll need all you wonderful actors, because there's going to be a lot of really cool stuff coming up, I'm pretty sure.
I think that the general tone within the industry is you know, hopeful, and we're all, you know, we're all gearing up for when it actually starts to pick back up again. But in the meantime, we're trying to find solutions because we need to work today. So with that said, let's see if we can open this up to some of our viewers. So guys, feel free to submit your questions. I saw one of my dear friends, Miss Actor's Life with Blythe.
Hi, Blythe. She asked, Katie, do you prefer to submit takes separately?
Oh, hi,
Again,
Sonia.
again, with Casting Frontier, you can submit all of your takes in one package, but they do appear as separate takes. However, at least my personal preference would be to receive all of the takes in one email, right? As opposed to just getting an actor who's just submitting one email after another where it's like, this is my slate, and this is my full body shot, and this is my first read, and this is my second, have everything in one concise email, and that way, we have it all in one place. What about you? Do you have any thoughts on that, Karen, or did I just dominate that question?
Oh gosh. Well, I'm a terrible multitasker, because while you were asking the question, I saw my friend Sonia, which I wanted to do a shout out to her, and then as people's names were coming up, I was starting to read all the questions, and I thought, oh shit, am I supposed to be listening to
Karen language?
Sorry. So you're talking about multiple takes, right?
For a self tape.
I would rather somebody send me 10 takes than just one. I'd rather have 10 because I'd rather be able to, because the thing is, and we'd always want to put because we can maneuver the takes as we want, but the same in the casting room, we always put the first take, our favorite take first, because the clients, the director, and the agency don't always have time to look through all the takes. So, but we like to have additional takes on there, because if they really like you, they will watch more. So, I generally prefer to send multiple takes if time allows, and definitely with the self-tape situation, time allows for that.
Yeah.
So I would always add, additional takes on there. But
and why wouldn't you?
Absolutely, when you have the time to do it. But I would always, as long as I know I can put my favorite take of yours to the front, to the forefront, so that's the first thing the client sees. That's the important part.
Great. Very good. So Marley _Marie _12 asks, I've seen a lot of open calls requesting reels. If you don't have a reel, would it be okay to send a monologue?
Yes, 100%. Yeah,
cool.
Because it shows you're working. You're looking at improving yourself, and and reels will, you'll get enough material eventually to get a reel. And you definitely will. There's so much good stuff out there. So even just filming a monologue, and you can even film that on your phone.
And you can make that moody, you can put filters on it, and you can make it, you can do a Shakespearean monologue.
I still have to learn filters. I'm useless with filters. I have no clue.
Okay, cool. Next question from Cameron L. Price. Full body slate advice. What are your tips? Do we worry about too much headroom for the full body shot?
Well, let's see. When you say, too much headroom, you want to make sure at least that the camera, you don't want to be, there you are, like way in the back there. Like, kind of know your position, I suppose, with the camera. So if it asks for a full body shot, generally it means because we want a 360 probably. But just keep it to the, fill the camera, if you know what I mean, if you're using depending on if you're using your cell phone or a more advanced camera. Just maybe practice it and know exactly where, and mark your floor so you know exactly where you're at.
Yes.
So that when you're, and
oh
yeah, and you can probably find. I know I looked into one at one point. A tripod. You can find really simple little tripods online for a couple of bucks that you will hold your phone, and remember to hold it, if it is on your phone, hold it horizontally, not vertically.
Yes, of course. Here's a good one. This is actually from an actor's mom, and this is from Baz's mommy. What do you do if you're waiting on jobs you have done to come out? My son did 2 projects and he doesn't have a reel yet. It looks like this is a little guy though. So, if the kid's really little, we're not expecting you to have like a fully fleshed out reel for a 5-year-old or 6-year-old,
but it's so lovely that the mom is chasing it up. I've often had people ask me over the years, hey, did the project come out? Can I find something for my reel? You can always, there's oftentimes it's on YouTube, because we have to pull these things for our own reels as well. You can find them on iSpot.tv. A lot of stuff is on there, like so many commercials. YouTube, if you remember your director, look up the director's reel, because often the director was also putting all the content on his own reel. The production company will have it on their reel. I will always, you know, dig it out for a person if they contact me and say, hey, like I have a job that we shot in January, I think, which was a really fun one with a lot of people. We're still waiting for that to come out, and I've had some emails about that one because we had some real people, non-actors on it, a mix of actors and non-actors, and like the non-actors are so excited to see how it turned out, like really more so I think because it was their first time. But so I'm watching out for them because they won't know how to kind of go finding it. But mostly, you know, if you can find it, usually a lot of those spots will be found on Vimeo, on you know, but always know who your director is. You know, make sure you keep a call sheet when you're on set, and always have all that information, who the production company and the director, because these guys also put the content on their own sites and on their own Facebook pages. And
it's always a good place if you look at the production company's website. Sometimes they'll post it on their website before they'll even post it on their YouTube page or wherever else. So that's usually a good place to go. A bunch of actors are asking, where do I find auditions? Casting Frontier. You can sign up. Go online right now. Make an account.
Yeah, I mean, they're listed everywhere, and sometimes it's you know, and there's so many different portals for that, but you know, and it's good to be signed up with the different, you know, casting.
I mean, across there's numbers of job boards, especially here in Los Angeles, that you can use to cover all of your bases. And you know, each one kind of has their own little specialty. But yeah, I mean, I feel like as an actor, it's you know, across all platforms and utilizing social media like we're doing now. This brings me to another good question from Kelly Pantaleone. Hopefully I'm saying that right. And she asked, do you ladies see auditions in the future post-corona being more self-tapes or all back into in-person auditions?
I think there's going to be a little bit of a mix of both, because I don't think the studio system is never, I mean, we do, for the most part, for commercials particularly, we do need to see people in person. As, you know, especially for a callback, because the director really likes to meet, the agency too, but particularly the director likes to meet people in person at a callback. Like it's, you know, you always hear, oh gosh, if I don't make it to the callback, I probably won't book the job, which
you're right.
Almost exclusively that is correct. I've had one or two times where just by chance that it was just the person was absolutely the right person for the job and couldn't make the callback for whatever reason. And a wonderful friend of mine, Brenda, happened to, you know, our lovely friend Brenda. And it was wonderful. I was happy it happened for her, but it's very rare. Very rare. Usually because they want to get a sense of you and they need to see you in person. So that's never going to end. Yeah,
that's what I think a lot of actors don't realize, is that one of the true purposes of callbacks is to determine whether or not you're somebody they want to work on a set with for 12 hours.
Yeah.
That's really one of the biggest things. I mean, they already know that you're a good actor. That's why you got a callback. They really want to see if this is somebody that they want to work with. You know, so I would say keep that in mind, you know, as actors, and to avoid being too schmoozy. Don't have an answer for everything that the director says for you. Just be present, listen, be chill, and just, you know, just come across like a regular human being, and people will warm up to that. I promise you.
Oh, I have there's one particular director that I've worked with over the years that has this very specific thing that he does at callbacks. He never has the actors actually do the scene or the action, whatever the action might be. He actually just he'll sit on a chair, and some of you may have actually auditioned for this director, so you know. I'll name no names, but he will sit on a chair right in front of the actors. You know, no computer, nothing, just paperwork for you know, info about the actors in front of him. That's it. And he'll sit there and he literally will ask the actors as they come in the door random questions, you know, just about something about themselves. What would you do if you weren't an actor? What would your other career be if you weren't an actor? He loves to know who you are behind it all. He loves to know. He would love to get to know the actors, and because he has faith in the fact that you can do the actual actions, because as we know, a lot of commercials don't actually have dialogue. And it's, you know, it's the action of getting into the car or drinking the beer or whatever it might be. And he knows he can direct you to do that. He just wants to know who you are outside of all that. So I am such a big proponent of cultivating who you are as a person outside of, you know, the actor side, you know, which is, of course, an important part of who you are. But we'd love to see, oh gosh, whatever I know actors who are realtors on the side, or
Yeah.
maybe they're a painter on the side, or they just anything outside of, there's got to be other things that make you a more well-rounded person. I know
Right.
actors who have pilot licenses, for example.
Right. No, haha, wait.
Stuff like that, you
might
know?
be married to one of them. No, yeah, I mean, that's, I think, and this goes not just for actors, but anyone who is just one dimensional and only has one interest and can only talk about that one interest.
Yeah.
Isn't a lot of fun to hang out with. So
Yeah.
when you're able to see, you know, because a lot of these questions that are popping up, it's like, how do I let my personality shine? What makes this person stand out to you? You.
Yeah.
That's what makes you stand out is your personality, because nobody can do you like you.
No.
And if you come into the room, I think the people that we both know commercially, the people who are the big bookers, the people who, you know, are working all the time, they're the ones who are able to go into the audition, be confident, comfortable in their own skin. They're listening to the direction, they do their thing, and they go, you know, and they're just present, and they're fun to be around because they don't have that, you know, that anxiety of whether or not they're going to book the job, or that, you know, please like me attitude that a lot of actors will bring on into an audition room, which I think they don't even intend to do that. That's just his nerves that manifests in that way. But yeah, I think that's the best advice I could give to any actor, is to just, you know, nobody can play you like you. So when you go into an audition, you can't look around and compare yourself to everybody, even if everyone in the room looks like you, which happens, you know. You just realize what, you know,
I actually
makes you special, and hone that. It's one of my favorite Dolly Parton quotes, which is, know who you are and do it on purpose. I don't think anybody does that better than Dolly.
Right. But it is, yeah, like, it's because you bring something that nobody else can bring to it. And sometimes it is a little bit daunting when you go into when you're waiting in the when you're in the waiting room. And there was one particular one I did a few years back, and they were very specific about how they wanted the lead girl to be dressed and be made up for the casting. She had to have long brown hair in a ponytail, white t-shirt, and a pair of jeans. So everybody looked exactly the same, and of course it was all the same age range, and it was insane. So it's that can be a little daunting for anyone. Walk in and go, oh my God, everyone here we all look the same. I mean, hey, it's a crapshoot. But honestly, it's what you bring to it, and everybody brings something different. Everybody.
Exactly. Good question. What would you, from Claudio_1_G24, what would you suggest when one does not have a reader for self-tapes?
I know that there's a program, and I'm so sorry I don't know what it is now, but I know, because I've seen it happen on some self-tapes. Some people are able to tape the dialogue and then play it back to themselves. Like, and there's an app for it, I think, and I need to do a bit of research and find that out. It's, you know, it is better to have a reader if you can, but I know that I've seen people tape the lines themselves. And, you know, and just play that back. So you can do that you do that on any simple device. Just record the other lines and record it in the way you want it, and of course leave yours out and then do yours live. But you can actually record your own lines, and that way you are working again. Because we don't love it when it's mine. You know, it's so much easier when we can see you react to the dialogue. So if you can tape it on a different device or something and then play it when you're, you know, as you're doing your piece, that's better. So, but ideally, of course, it would be wonderful to have someone to help you out.
Yeah, no, it's
not always possible, of course, but
no, it's not. And I'm just trying to see if I can get some more.
I know, I'm flying by. I'm trying to see.
I know. I see the same actresses in commercials. Do CDs contact them directly because you know them? Is it already predetermined who gets the job? That's from Miss Smith 6037. No, never. It's never predetermined.
I wish we knew. I wish.
That would be so easy, wouldn't it? Just like,
then we wouldn't have a job.
Yes, book them. Okay, goodbye.
And then I suppose we'd be out of a job at that point. No, it's never. Here's the funny thing: is there's sometimes a wild card, we call them, who comes in and tumbles it all up and you know, on its head. Whether it's maybe that they were initially looking for X, Y, and Z, and you have to remember that in commercials, there's an enormous amount of marketing and strategizing that has gone on in advance of us
Yep.
getting the actual spot, for them to determine this is the market we're going for. This is exactly what we need in this treatment. So this is how we want it cast. So there's an enormous amount of work that goes on before we even get the treatment, which is, you know, they have to determine what is the perfect denomination or, you know, demographic for this particular product, for example.
Right.
So, you know, we're not going to throw, when we say wild card, we're not going to throw in somebody that is completely wrong for the job. I say wild card because it's what I use when I say, well, you know, there's somebody that isn't quite right for the role, but I'm going to give them a shot because I know their work is good, and I've seen them do other stuff that, which, you know, so that's when we'll, you know, go off script slightly. But there's never, you know, you might sometimes say, oh, you see the same people, but then if you're seeing them, that means you're in there too. Do you know what I mean? But we are always under pressure to bring fresh faces in. Always. Everyone has favorites. Oh my God, we all do, and it's
Oh
great.
yeah.
But I gotta tell you, the favorites repertoire expands all the time. I mean, I get every week I go, oh my God, I love that person, so there's a new favorite. You know what I mean? Like there's always going to be more people that we as we come across them, that we just love their work ethic, and we'll always remember them for any role that we feel they're right for. You know, of course I have a strong affinity for the Irish, but I love all actors, but you know, but you know, but it's,
no, I mean, we all have our things. Like, you know, when I was working in my last office that I was at, my favorite actors to come in were like the really charactery people, you know, like just getting those really kind of interesting faces and these people with these great comedy. I mean, we all have our favorites, but you know, one of the questions that's being asked consistently is, how does one become a favorite?
Oh,
and
be cool, be nice, be good, be on time, just be good at your work. Yeah, be good at your work. Now listen, we do understand when sometimes there's, you know, you've got a doctor's appointment. I'm for the most part, I'm fairly easy. For anyone who's ever been in my office, I don't go nuts on you if you are late. I've never done that. It's different at callbacks. There's a reason that we have specific timelines at callbacks. But, you know, for the initial casting, unless you're being matched with somebody and unless there's a very specific timeline, I'm fairly good about it. But only if you ask me in advance. You should always at least let us know in advance. But just always be so consistent, and just we love having a good conversation with anyone when they walk in the office, because we just love to meet new actors and get to know
people. That's why we got into this business. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, it's nice for us to always, you know, and again, I can't even tell you, like every week I come across somebody new and I go, oh my God, that person is brilliant, and then that's a new favorite kind of thing. And
yeah,
you know, and of course you've got to remember that also when we see a treatment and when we get our specs for a job, we'll look through the list and go, immediately we can think of multiple people that would fit those roles, but then we like to bring newbies in because you want to see, oh gosh, I need to see what this person can do, because you're always under pressure to, you know, just find some fresh faces, I suppose, as well as the mix of all the, you know, old reliables, as we call them.
Of course. Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, because like you said, you know, with these producers and clients, you know, they've been around the block several times as well. They know who the players are. So sometimes it is good to give them something, you know, someone a little new. What do you think? 2 more questions?
I could.
We can do this all day. Join us, everyone, for an afternoon with Karen Ryan.
I think I saw Glenn. I just want to say shout out. I think I saw, but I'm half blind here. I'm trying to look at my.
I know.
Phone.
I'm trying to keep up. Let's see. I mean, I love all these people who have logged in. This was great. Oh, here's a good one. Freddie Velateo asks, Karen, if an actor was called in a lot by a casting director, but we switched agencies, what's the best way we can still exist in your world?
Oh, I mean, you'll still exist. Oh, absolutely. Because once you're submitted, no matter who the agency is, we see your face and we bring you in. I did have a weird thing happen on a recent job. I can't remember what the job was now, but the actor was literally in between, and it was odd because his previous agent submitted him, and then when I went to do the booking, because he booked it, he had shifted agents in between, you know, so that it got a little sketchy, but or not sketchy,
Sure.
you know, just it's always kind of like, oh,
Yeah.
At that point, it was really, you know,
Because it's like one agency was the one that submitted him for the job, so who's going to get the commission? Right. It gets a little,
But either way, your face is popping up, and you're still. I mean, or all it might be, oh my gosh, they changed agents. Okay, or but you know what? If it's somebody we know and love, we generally would get an email from that actor to say, hey, just to let you know, I'm with this is my new rep now. Emails are great, you know, so always feel free to let us know if you did change reps.
If you don't have the casting director's direct email, because you know, sometimes you don't want to go spreading that around to everybody, you know, that's what social media is great for too, guys. You know, as a former casting assistant, I would get postcards all the time from actors about their new show or a new agency. Now that's moved to social media where you can tweet it, you can Instagram post about it, which honestly is a lot cheaper, and in my opinion, more effective, because you know for a fact that that casting director is going to see it and not an assistant or not, you know, somebody else in the office.
Yeah. I do read mine. Like I'll go on.
You do. You're very good about that, Karen.
But you know, I'm not good on, I have a Facebook page for Canvas, but I don't use it at all because I've had trouble with it. Like trying to post jobs and everything on there was kind of tough. So I'm way better on Instagram. So I try to check it, even though it's again, I'm still kind of learning the myriad of social media. I'm not the best, but you know, I figured out, oh yeah, you know,
you're good. You got on here.
Oh yeah, pop this cherry, all right.
This is so crazy. I see Kira on here.
Hi, Kira.
And then we have agents signed on here too, guys that are chiming in. Agent Jamie Hernandez, she said, as an agent, we say that the booking stays with the agent that submitted talent. So there you go. Answer resolved.
Oh, thanks, hon. Yeah.
Let's do. Oh my gosh, these questions keep coming. So one of the questions that came up was, what's the process for a casting director after callbacks?
Okay. I just had to plug my phone in because I just got the notice, 10% battery. So let me hold it from here.
Yeah.
So what's the process
after? Too, so I'm going to switch locations real quick.
So what the question was, what was the process after from the avail to from the callback to the booking? Was that it?
Yeah, basically. I mean, I think they're just curious to see what happens when the callback is over and the actors leave and what happens. Yeah.
Oh, let me demythify or debunk myths, I could say.
Spin your yarn, kids.
So one of the things that's important to know is if you're put on a veil, it's almost like 99% of the time it's just you and one other person.
Yeah.
Okay. This is really important. I know people go, oh God, I'm on a veil, but I'm probably one of 10. No. You're generally one of 2 per role. Sometimes there's a third as a backup to the backup, but you don't have to worry about that. The thing is, it's generally just 2. And here's the wonderful thing: we will never let you know if you're the first choice of the backup. It's just bad form to ever. You know, I prefer to keep that to us. Because it starts messing with your head. Well, I'm first choice. I'm going to book it now. It's best if I mean, there are some agents that I've had a little small word with, and I'll say, oh my God, especially when I know the person's going to book it. But there's so many things that can go wrong. And also, because it could be that the client decides, oh, you know what, we're going to change the role. Let's go back to the drawing board. We're not going to use either of those choices.
Right.
And then the other thing is, if a backup is always just as strong. A backup choice has to be as strong as the first choice, because when we're in the casting room at the end of the callback, the director and the ad agency have to feel just as comfortable with the backup as they do with the top choice.
Yeah.
So the next step is the following. We put everybody in a veil. Usually the following morning, hopefully, if the timeline works, because everything's such a tight timeline, they get on a call with the client, which is, Home Depot or whoever the client is. Get on the phone with the client and they, give them the recos, as we say. Well, these are the recommendations for each role. And they don't often present the backups unless they need to, because they want to go with their first choice. And in an ideal world, the client will then say, great, love them all, book them all. Sometimes there's a little bit of a, change in plan at that. So that's why it's so hard. I know some actors get so stressed when they're put on a veil, because there's so much promise in that word, but then when you get
Right, you're so close.
yeah,
You're
it's like,
so close. Yeah.
and I always say, please, please, please take that as a positive. Please take it as a positive, because you've gotten to the top at that point. You know, even if you don't book it from that point on, that's a huge thing to know that you got there, because that we will always remember that. And,
Casting will remember it. Your agent will remember
yeah,
it. Always
the
a good thing.
director will often remember it and come back in 3 months' time and go, yeah, you remember that person we didn't book? I'd love to try to get them on this job.
Because
that
maybe you were the director's first pick. And maybe it was
Yeah.
the client that said, oh, no, we're going to go with this other person. You know what I mean? So
And
that's the other thing too, is that we get requests all the time as casting directors from directors who essentially, want to just work with people they worked with before. They're tried and true. And they know they're going to get the job done. That's why you see like Judd Apatow works with the same dozen actors over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And, all the Christopher Guest movies that were so successful is people like working with people they like.
Yeah. And so, which is good, and so, although I did have a director one time that, God, I'm never going to name names, but he didn't like using the same people ever because he wanted to have different people on his reel. And my argument at the time was, but it's not about your reel. It's about the right person for the job, but whatever, but these are things that go on behind the scenes that are kind of our little kind of peeves.
Yeah, no, I mean, all this little stuff. I mean, basically a lack of communication and inconsistency, I would say, are the top two pet peeves for casting directors. If you're going to be late, that's fine. We're human. We all have traffic or emergencies or something happen. But just call your agent. Let them know so we can know, and that way we can either reschedule, or, you don't waste your time driving out to an audition and then we're done for the day, which was always my least favorite part of the job. I'm gonna throw a hardball question at you now.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
So we just had a few actors who asked about FICOR.
Okay. Ooh.
What are our feelings on FICOR?
Okay. So I would never have a problem with FICOR. I don't, because I know there is, it's different in theatrical. I don't know. I can't answer for that. I love the union. I've always been, very supportive.
Of course.
But I would never want an actor to feel like they are going to be looked over because, they're FICOR. It never happens. It's actually the benefit for a FICOR actor is that they can audition for both union and non. And I have to say, I'm a stickler, 100%, like 1000% stickler for not ever bringing union. I will never bring union talent in, for not knowingly anyway, in for a non-union job. I'm very,
no, likewise.
Yeah, like it's really important to honor the union and do the right thing by people that you just, it's there for a reason. So if you are a union actor and you're looking to do more work, or you're it's basically, FICOR is like a labor thing. It's actually less to do with the union. It's more to do with labor laws, that it's to do with financial hardship. So if you're finding that you're not booking anything as a SAG actor, or not enough to live on, you can file financial core status with the union, and nobody looks down on it. I promise you. I don't know.
No, SAG has their own department now. They now work with, and I think they understand that as more and more actors are going FICOR, trying to work with them, so at least they try to stay in the union as much as possible. Because we all want to make a living wage and have a healthy, safe work environment. And, we put in the work and we deserve to be treated well. Like Blythe says, know your worth. That's right, Blythe.
But also, and actually on sort of the same subject, around about the same subject, when it comes to your SAG dues and you're booking a job, please, please, please pay your SAG dues. And I'll tell you why, for the obvious reasons, but we have to do file reports, Station 12 reports with the union, and there's nothing worse than the panic of, oh God, this person hasn't paid their dues. Will they pay them in time, within the timeline? They've already worked the job.
Yeah, because that needs to be settled before you walk on set, actors.
Oh, yeah.
SAG will not let you on set until that is handled.
So that's why we get a little feral about it when it comes to booking.
Oh yeah, it's just, especially if I know sometimes there's a little bit of hardship and you don't want to have to pay dues, so you've booked a job, and I understand that. But when you've booked one, and the SAG are very understanding. They'll there isn't this sense of, okay, I'm a must join now, I have to pay all my dues at once. There's payment plans in place. There's situations in place where if you do owe some dues and you've booked a job, they'll work it out with you, but you have to call the union and figure it out before you get on set. Super important.
Communication.
Yes.
Let me see. After a job is posted, what is the time frame to submit to be looked at? After a job is posted, I mean, commercials move fast.
Yeah, it's pretty quick. So I would say, I mean, we've had, God, I had a job one time that I think it was Pizza Hut, and I posted it at 3 p.m. and I had to have a casting by the next day. So just so you know the timeline, it's insane. It's insane. Typically we get at least one prep day, at least. Ideally more, but usually just at least one. So I'm actually losing the question. I think I'm losing the focus on the question. It's the timeline for self-tapes, or is it from the submission?
Once I mean, I guess the question is just more about the timeline of like how fast do we have to look at submissions before we have to put a casting together?
Oh, well, generally a day, but then it's a lot of work in that day. But I love to have more time than that, but there usually
But
isn't.
unfortunately, yeah.
Sometimes you only have a half a day, so that's why we love it when agents and when people are directly submitting themselves, when they're very specific, they don't just blindly submit when you're not right for a role, because it's just too hard for us to work through everybody, and we want to look at everybody. We don't want to just be we want to look at everyone's submission, and especially in comedy spots, which I love doing. I love comedy. When anything to do with comedy, if it's people, I know there's comedy people, I know their resumes, I know their work, I know what they can do. But if I'm looking for new faces and new people, I have to take the time to look through resumes. Now we don't have to do that for regular cast, for your typical car commercial, like anything that doesn't really have dialogue, but anything that's comedy based, or where there's a certain amount of improv involved, I need to see that you have that on your resume, or have stand up or whatever it might be. So if I don't know you, I have to go through the resumes, and that takes way long. It takes so long. So I mean, I'd love to have days to be able to do that, but that's not the timeline we're given. The timeline's so tight.
Right. And that's why it's important for, if the job is open for self-submissions, actors, keep refreshing your browser, making sure that you're always staying on top of the submissions as fast as they come, making sure you're one of the first people getting in there. Also be on top of your agents and make sure that they're submitting you in a timely fashion, because sometimes actors won't get that call because their agent was, just didn't get on it fast enough, unfortunately. And that's usually not the agent's fault. They've got 1,000 other things to do, but that's sometimes an issue. So I would always feel like actors, if you're with an agent and you're not really going out a whole lot, ask to get a submission report from your agent. It's not a bother. It's easy for them to generate that, and you can see how many times they've been hitting you. I've been informed that Instagram cuts us off after an hour.
Oh,
so let's do one more question, and then we'll wrap.
It's been an hour?
It's been almost an hour, girl.
Holy
Yeah. We've been doing so good.
I wish I could shout people out, but I'm kind of I'm because it's on the phone, so it's so small. But I've seen a couple of people, and I keep wanting to shout out. But anyway, go ahead with another question there.
Oh no, just one more question, and it's kind of wrapped into a bunch of other things. There basically, people are asking if we do bring in non-union people for union jobs, if we do Taft-Hartley folks. And
oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, we're the only thing is, on a SAG job, really the pressure is on us to look through the SAG talent pool first. But I have done thousands of Tafts over the years. Thousands.
It's more common than you think.
Yeah, like, and it's and there isn't, because we're the ones that do that paperwork, so there's no issue with production, with the ad agency. All they want to know is the paperwork was done you know, adequately and it was
Right.
done in time.
Right.
If the person's right for the job, it's no problem. So yeah, absolutely. We've done it a million times, especially if it's a very specific thing that we can't find in the SAG pool, or maybe just somebody just that
Exactly.
a specific skill we need, or something that we're matching people and we really need, whatever it might be. And so absolutely, yeah, that's it's just that the other way around, we don't do it. I wouldn't bring non-union into a union job, but
Sure.
absolutely we'd see it pop up. But I kept wanting to shout out and say hello, but first of all, like I wish it was bigger, because like, oh my god, I can't even see.
I
But,
know.
yeah.
It would be nice to have a desktop version that we could have some fun with. I just wanted to give us a proper send off and finish off this last question before we head off the day, because I know you got things to do. So one of the questions that was asked that is pretty applicable to a lot of newcomer actors, which is, how do you get into the room if you don't have an agent?
Well, we do put out a lot of jobs to direct cast. You know, it isn't necessarily just like there's a slew of jobs where we'll open it up to everybody. Let's say, not every job. I mean, to be honest, like the really big SAG jobs, generally they will go out to agents, because we're so inundated, and probably with the runs, there's so many jobs that I would always open it up to both, and I look at both. But I will always, if your agent submits you, I'll always pull you in through your agent. You know, like because you know, obviously when I put it out to direct cast, the actor can also submit as well as the agent submitting. But I would at that point, that's where it gets a little kind of confusing sometimes. But we would always make sure to you know, pull you in via your agent. But if you don't have an agent submitting, then absolutely, yeah, we'd very open to that. Very, very open. And I've often booked people without an agent.
Yeah, you know? and again, there's a number of job boards that are available, especially in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Casting Frontier being one of them. Actors Access, Casting Networks, Backstage. You know, I mean, there are all these different publications that allow you to submit yourself and get seen by casting directors. Because like you said, if you guys are looking for something really specific, I remember one time in my last job, we were looking for exactly like Jay Leno. So we were trying to find a little boy.
Oh, cute.
Like, you know, yeah, and totally. And we found a great kid, but we had to go through the direct submit boards, because, you know, the agents sent their talent and they did the best that they could, but they, you know, wasn't that right fit. And sometimes you do have to do a bit of a deeper dive to find that right talent, for sure.
Yeah.
Let's see.
There's so many amazing non-rep actors out there that are, or maybe they're between agents, or there's, you know, we never want to discount people just because they're not repped, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. It just means you're new. It doesn't, you know, it's not indicative of your talent or anything.
Yeah.
For sure. Let's see. Maybe one more. Let's see. Do we have casting opportunities for Spanish actors? Do we offer bilingual castings?
I've done a few. Actually, yeah, I've cast many jobs that were, of course, I don't speak Spanish myself, but I would just at that point hire a Spanish-speaking session director, and usually a Spanish-speaking assistant, because you know, sometimes it's very specific. They want a specific dialect, or you know, a certain region, you know, that they want to have, you know, certain regional, you know, accent or whatever. I did some covered California spots that were hi Emily.
I know, it's fun.
So yeah, definitely. Like I think we you know, we basically all do a range of things. You know, all as casting directors, that there isn't, you know, some of us have favorite things that I love working on comedy. I love it so much. Because who doesn't want to laugh all day, you know? I mean,
of course.
I just did a spot which was so fun for Troy Built, which is their lawn mowers.
Okay.
And the whole, like, for it was just one guy, and he had to sing badly to Take On Me, you know, AHA, Take On Me. And
of course,
it was so much fun. It was so much fun. Loved it. And it just, I don't know. And everyone brought something different. Everyone. Yeah.
That's great.
Oh my gosh. All right, let's see. Is it better to send a self-tape ASAP or take more time to do a better job?
Oh,
Yes.
that is something I did want to talk about earlier, and I'm glad that you asked that.
Well, I didn't ask that. Laura
I mean, as in,
underscore
yes.
May underscore abracadabra asked
Love
that.
it, love it. It's a great question, and I'm going to tell you a little bit of a tip. Usually, self-tape, we try to give a little bit of notice. It's not like an audition will send it out and say you have to be at the studio the next day. With a self-tape, there's generally a little bit more time because we like to give you time to prepare. In an ideal world, there isn't always. But here's the amazing thing. We'll always give like a deadline. Okay, we need the self-tapes by Wednesday at noon. The people that send theirs in sooner.
Norizuki, you're live, babe. Sorry, just answered your question.
The people that send theirs sooner will actually probably get, like, we have a chance, you guys will have a chance to redo your tape because we'll get a chance to have a look at them and, if there's something we want to change. So sending before the deadline is actually preferable because sometimes when it comes to the deadline, I'm chasing people up going, oh, I need your self-tape, I need your self-tape. And there's no chance then at that point for any adjustments or any changes or, doing anything different. So if sending before, like a little bit before if you can, before the deadline is always recommended.
Always. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's better to have a decent Christmas album released December 24th than it is to have an amazing Christmas album come out January 1st.
Yep, exactly.
So let's see. Here's a really good question. Any plans for virtual auditions given the current circumstances? Now, we know Casting Frontier, we actually offer virtual auditions as built into our system. It's a brand new feature that we're offering. It allows for basically what we're doing right now for a casting director to work with an actor in real time. And so that is something that we have been seeing an uptick in that interest. In the future, there is still somewhat of an in-person quality, like what Karen was mentioning in terms of callbacks. But I think, depending on how long this situation lasts, virtual auditions may be more and more common. So it's important to clean your house and have a nice neutral background going on in the background, because you never know. You might get an email that says, hey, you have a virtual audition in 15 minutes. Mm-hmm. and you need to be ready for that. So that would be my advice in terms of, maybe the future of what some casting is going to be going.
Yeah.
There's a lot of actors who are...
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sorry. Didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I did too. Sorry. Because I'm trying to read. Do you think these virtual, once the quarantine, do we think these virtual, doors will stay open? Yeah, I mean, I think there's a need for all of it, because here's the thing, there's so many, when it's busy, as Katie knows, there are times when we get so slammed with a million things going on at once or whatever. And so any which way that we can get a casting done, sometimes it is through self-tapes, or in person or whatever it might be.
Right.
There's always there'll be a need for all of it, put it that way. Yeah.
Yeah. I have a feeling it's going to be a amalgamation of everything.
Yeah.
I think that, I think some casting directors are spooked now at the idea of lobbies full of hundreds of people. I think that there are some people who can't wait to get back into the trenches. But
I miss the studio. I can't wait.
I know. And I think with that, we're going to be seeing this hybrid happening where some people are going virtual, some people are doing in person. But this has definitely made all of us sort of reevaluate our day to day. For sure. Let's see.
Hi, Dana.
Dana, we're always open to receiving emails from Dana.
Yes, love that.
Let's see.
They go so fast, don't they?
I know. So there was a couple other questions. I know we're going about this all day, but I do eventually have to get back to work. So I guess one of the other questions, there are some people who are talking about how they live out of the country or they live outside of LA and how to get their career started.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's the beauty of self-tapes. Self-tapes have made it possible for people that are outside the zone to actually, be considered. And I've always said to people, I mean, it's good to be there in person for the callback, but if I wouldn't want anyone spending money traveling from. And there was a girl on one job I did recently, and I didn't know. I had no idea she was coming up from Northern California, and I said to her,
Oh yeah,
"Yeah,
people go to auditions from San Diego,
oh my
San
gosh,
Francisco, Vegas. It's crazy.
yeah." And I said to her at the time, "I wish you'd have told me." I said I would have happily accepted a self tape, and then maybe have you come to the in-person one for the callback. But we are just here's the thing, let us know, it's good for us to know, say, because if we're trying to, when we're scheduling auditions, if we schedule it into the day, the casting day, and then you're going to be sending in a self tape, well then we can use that time, that you've given up for another actor. So rather than let us know the day of, oh, you know what, I can't be there, I'm going to send a self tape. This is something that we'd have to predetermine and work out in advance, because
sometimes the clients don't take self tapes.
For a reason, for that, or it could be that it's a self tape wouldn't work for this particular scenario because we're matching people in groups or whatever it might be, or maybe we're matching up couples. But it's very doable. But if you're sending in a self tape, then I would rather give that time away to somebody else, if you know what I mean, in the casting room. But it just makes it more so that it's open to people that aren't necessarily within the 30-mile zone. So I don't want any, there's always, self-tapes are like the way forward for, because we can reach many more people, which is nice.
Absolutely. And I think self-tapes are going to become more and more prevalent, which is great, because like you said, it's better access and gives more people opportunities to audition, which is awesome. So I think we're getting to the end here. And I just wanted to thank Miss Karen Ryan so much. Yay! For joining us today.
Thank you to everybody.
Yeah,
Katy,
honestly, guys, thank you so much. We're going to be having, Casting Frontiers account's going to be having more interviews like this in the future. Karen was just, so sweet to be our guinea pig today. You are. You're the first one. You can follow Karen at Canvas Casting. Or you can also go to Karen's website, which is canvascasting.com, to see her work, get in touch with her, and all of that good stuff. As far as Casting Frontier, you can follow us online. You can go to castingfrontier.com, get your account set up, start submitting, which is what the whole point of this is, right? Is to get work. So
yes, yeah. And
Karen,
always reach out. Anyone who knows me knows that I'm fairly friendly.
Oh, Karen's the best. Yeah. Karen, I mean, like this has gone on for an hour and 15 minutes, which was supposed to be a half-hour interview.
It went by so fast, though, and I wish I could answer every question. I wish I could read all the stuff as well. I'm just not a good multitasker, obviously. But listen, thank you so much to all of you, to everybody that tuned in. Just very much appreciated. I hope it was helpful. I hope people found some, snippets of info in there that are helpful in some way. And everybody just take care and just don't. We'll get past all this. This is such a hump for everybody, but I think we'll all get through it and come out the other side, and we'll all be just like, oh my God, there's so much work and life is good and everybody's healthy, and just it's all going to be fine.
Yeah. Just everyone's got to hang in there.
Yeah.
And keep those self tapes humming away, and we'll come through on the other side for sure.
Yeah. Thank you, Katy.
Thank you, Karen.
Thanks.
Miss
Bye,
you.
guys.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye, guys. Thanks so much.